Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Excel channel. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let's just jump right into it. Today I'll be making a tier list on every character while I've played throughout the past couple weeks, so make sure to check those videos out if you haven't. But let me explain the method behind my tiering first. So the tiers will be S, A+, A, and B. And also do keep in mind that I don't think any character in this game is bad at all. And that's one of the reasons why this game is so good. It's just some are better than others. Some are more viable than the others. But without further ado, let's just get into it. So starting out the S tier, we have Young Gojo. He's one of the easiest characters to get value off of. You can literally stand 30 feet in the air with infinity so you can't even combo him. And then the R1 will teleport to you, and then he can teleport to you, and you have around 3/4 of a second to react. And if you don't, then either you take half of your health if you don't guard, or you take 30% if you do guard. And he can do this at level 3 and level 2. His R1 is absurdly hard to dodge, considering it is essentially a Yuji or Todo or Nanami rush. All this plus the infinity mechanics, plus his guaranteed level up with his regular blue combos, and his auto combo is straight up one of the best in the game. His R2 is definitely difficult to use and map reliant, but half the time it doesn't even matter due to his R1 being so broken. He does have a downside with him not being able to use joints in his ultimate until post-death, but his ultimate is kind of unnecessary most of the time because an unguarded teleport R1 essentially does the same damage. And the joint thing is still definitely a legitimate concern. However, in lower ranks, I would definitely consider him the best character in the game though. Next in the S tier is Gojo's adult counterpart, who I would say is actually one of the most skilled characters in the game. He has many combos that are all great and take time to learn, and the absolute best melee joint in the game, if you can learn how to use it, of course. He has blue, which post-nerf is still an honestly great ability. He also has red, which can really be quite efficient if you also can learn how to use it. Finally, he has a third curse technique in purple, which is a great technique. It is extremely high damaging technique with full map range and hard to dodge, especially due to the large hitbox and the fact that it actually pulls you in. Next we have Infinity, which is seen a lot less as a playstyle due to Toji being in quite literally every single game. But when not against Toji, it is extremely hard to deal with and a great ability. Finally, we have what I would say is the crown jewel of his kit, his domain. Gojo's domain is quite literally almost a guaranteed win if you pull it off. The activation time is honestly is pretty quick, and you one-shot or almost one-shot someone, and almost always are able to do this to the other opponent too. His main flaw is the lack of immediate damage, but if you land joints, this is pretty irrelevant. On our list in the S tier is the mighty student Geto. He's my favorite character in the game, and I would say he has the most variety and skill expression in this game. One way I mean this is to play well with him, it doesn't take too much skill, as in his abilities are pretty simple. But the way you use them can be so different, and the timing you can master in so many ways. His simple domain can be used to force joints, which, by the way, he has the best of in the entire game, or the enemy to run away and back off and get into your sniper range, which has absurd range, and the damage is excellent as well. And his basic combos are phenomenal as well, with one combo which I've only seen used a couple times being a guaranteed guard break. His ultimate isn't too crazy, but it's a good touch combined with the rest of his kit. Next on our list in the S tier is Toji Fushiguro, who is similar to Geto in the way I described his skill expression. Easy to learn, hard to master. His most basic combo is the triangle small slice into the R1 cursed energy slice, but you can learn how to increase to 2 slices, and I've even seen 3 slices in one combo before. He gets a free level up upon getting a kill, which usually means his ultimate, which his is one of the best in the entire game with great range, great damage, and the activation is literally a second or less, I swear. His joint is great too, considering the fact that so many characters are forced to guard on him, because that's all they can really do, because he is always attacking first with how fast he is. His auto combo is one of the best in the game, and his R2 rush also does crazy damage, and even has some nice range on it. And this is all without mentioning his speed. He is the fastest character in the game by far, and it's not even close. But there is one more better than him. Sukuna is our final character in S tier, and the best character in the game. And there are many, many, many reasons why. Sukuna is like Mahito, except cranked up to 1000%. For starters, on auto combo, in most of his basic combos, he has armor, which basically gives him an edge over every other character. These combos aren't just melee, he has some range on it, and it's a lot farther than you expect. His one combo that isn't armored is an AoE that can knock both enemies away, and also is a guaranteed cursed energy level up after hitting it twice. This is very important because I level 1, outside of auto and one other combo, Sukuna essentially has useless curse techniques. But usually this doesn't matter because he gets level 2 very quickly, and his regular combos are so good that it also makes it irrelevant. At level 2, Sukuna unlocks 2 new cursed energy techniques and 1 additional passive ability, which replaces 2 useless ones. And this is the beginning on why Sukuna's status as best of the game is so true and so obvious to me as I've played the game more. We will start with Slice. Slice is perhaps the single most damaging attack in the game, and it is AoE with armor upon use, so you can use it as a counter, and you can use it when both opponents are tagging your teammates, because it can get both of them. Level 3 Sukuna Slice does more damage than most ultimates. The radius of the attack is not terribly large, but it definitely isn't small either, and if your opponents do dodge it, they can start a combo, but if you do play even remotely smart, then you will catch them at least 2 or 3 times in one battle, and that's basically 2 or 3 ultimates being hit on one person, or potentially both. Next is Fuga, which is the best ranged attack in the game, with the second highest damage, only slightly behind Jogo at level 3, while Fuga still does more damage at level 2. Fuga also has armor upon activation, so you can use it to squeeze out the attack in crucial moments. It also has full map range and a large hitbox that you have to constantly be cautious if you are the opponent fighting that Sukuna's teammate. If you are ever left unguarded while the opponents tag team your teammates, you are free to use Fuga, and they will be forced to back off your teammate, take the hit, or stand there and guard it. Fuga's main issue is that it is difficult to hit people while they are in the air, but in most cases you can switch targets and re-level it back to ground. Next is Sukuna's reverse curse technique, which is just absurd. If you take damage, a large portion of that is stored, and if you land any attack, then you restore all that damage. So what happens many times is that you're hit by an ultimate and you're extremely low health, and then you land an attack, and then you are back to almost full health again. Not really any flaws, because it's just something extra literally no other character has. Level 3 he unlocks ultimate and intimidation. Throughout the match you stack up intimidations, and depending on how many you have, 1 to 3, the range and time the enemies are stunned will increase, meaning you can use a level 3 intimidation to stun the enemies, and if your teammate isn't caught by it, then your teammate can freely start a combo, use an ability, or even ultimate. Next is Sukuna's ultimate, which is one of 2 one-shot ultimates in the game, which can also catch both enemies. It has a large width, but the range is pretty short, and can be wasted if you accidentally use it on your teammate. This leads me into Sukuna's 3 flaws. One is the fact that he hits his teammates, which most of the time isn't a problem, because most of the time if you do hit your teammate, it's one of the abilities that you're also hitting the enemy with. 2, Sukuna's joint is pretty terrible. It takes forever to activate, and the range is mediocre. 3, Sukuna himself is very vulnerable to joint attacks due to his prior mentioned armor only being penetrated by a joint attack. Regardless, I believe the fact that this is the character I spent the longest on just mentioning all his different abilities shows that he should be regarded as the best character in the game. At the beginning of the A+ tier, we have Esso and Kejizu. Honestly, could be higher depending on your perspective, but they basically only have positives, which I would say is a theme among the A+ through S characters. They break combos most of the time and deal damage at the same time, while also buffering them for you to start your own combos. They have a good joint and auto combo, great and consistent ultimate, great damage and range with the R2 beam and the prior mentioned Kechizu R1. And they even have the rot technique shenanigans. Their kit was basically designed without flaws, but what they do so well isn't too crazy, which is what keeps them at the bottom of A+. Next in the A+ tier we have Megumi Fushiguro. Megumi is a similar character to Eso and Kechizu, but he only has that combo breaks at level 2 and above. Fushiguro trades this for a better auto combo and regular combos. For this, another thing Megumi gets in return is far more immediate damage. At the moment he gets Cursed Energy level 2, his damage is already one of the highest in the game. And he does this while also having great range too. Like seriously, Megumi's range is absurdly good considering his great damage on his basic call on his R1 and fantastic damage on R2. Megumi's joint and ultimate aren't that crazy, but considering everything that he already does, maybe for balance reasons, that's a good thing. Mahito is our next character in the A+ tier, and is a perfectly rounded character in just about every way. His range, excellent with his R2. Combos, great considering he does damage on extraction moves too. Close range, great, and even has a counter in his kit with his joint attack. Ultimate, domain expansion, which can only be cancelled by death, or joint attack, which is extremely hard to stop, and is very considering one R2 in his domain could mean death. He even has built-in cursed energy level ups upon being comboed, which makes said domain easier to get. He does have 3 small areas which hold him back, which are joint R1 and attack speed. His joint, while being a powerful defensive tool, can also hold you back when you want to use it offensively, which I would say is most of the time you want to use joints. His R1 is also essentially irrelevant outside of his domain, due to the fact that of his R2 just being that good. He also has slow attack speed when he wants to start a combo. All of these do not hold him back that much, and he's still a fantastic character. Next in the A+ tier is Todo Aoi, who I would say is just a straight up upgrade from Nanami and Yuji. His joint is about the same as Yuji's, and his R2 rush is essentially Nanami's, but is slower to activate. So wait, what actually makes him better? Well, it's his R1 curse technique from the anime, the Boogie Woogie. The possibilities are almost limitless with this curse technique. So, let's say Sukuna catches your teammate in Slice. Swap with that teammate, swap with Sukuna's teammate, or swap you and Sukuna, or swap you and Sukuna's teammate, or Sukuna and replace Sukuna's Slice with literally, swap Sukuna and replace Sukuna's Slice with literally any other combo and you still get the same result with this, and you can hand make any combos you desire and get creative. Sky is literally the limit, and depending on how good you are, you could definitely put him higher or in S tier, depending on how good you are, but those are the top 1%. I would say then this level here at the A+ tier is right for most. Next up is our final character in the A+ tier, Jogo, who I would say is the best zoner character in the game, excluding, who I don't think is a zoner at all, Student Ghetto. Jogo his most obvious and best point is damage. Even at level 1 he outdamages level 2 characters and completes with level 3. His range is next, and even on the largest maps is still very difficult to leave his range. He does have the lowest health in the game, but he uses that to his advantage by his passive giving him additional damage when he drops to low health. He also has a domain expansion that if you even land a single attack and you basically just use an ultimate on them. His only downside is a pretty mediocre auto and joint attack. Next up, beginning us in the A tier, is the one and only Momo Nishimiya, who has pretty much only good traits, to be honest. She has vertical mobility, movement speed, her damage isn't that half bad, great joint, good combos, good damage, consistent ultimate. So you might wonder why she isn't higher, in all honesty. And she isn't even that outdone by the other zoners, Jogo, Mai, and Young Ghetto. I have 2 main reasons why she isn't higher. One, she's map reliant. On close indoor maps where she can't take advantage of that vertical mobility, then she kind of just good and not great by any means compared to the other characters who don't dance around and just will get into it quicker and with more of effect than taking time to fly around. Reason 2, she can be targeted and taken down. If the opponent has Toji, Yuji, or other high mobility characters that can contest her, and she has a hard time fighting back because while it's not that big of a problem, she has a cast time that prevents her from fighting back as good as other characters like Mai. Now we have Mai, who I will be mentioning a lot throughout the rest of the B characters. But what does she actually do? Well, she has great range with her revolver and her free aim, Fan the Hammer. She can quickly get someone off. You can quickly get someone off of you. That plus her regular free aim does great damage, plus her fully charged up shot makes her an actual threat as a zoner, not just an annoyance to the opponents. Her joint is also great with good range and activation time. Her ultimate is also great with terrible tracking, but she makes up for it with actually being a sniper shot with its range. I've also found she is not very map reliant. She can be easily thwarted through continually knocking her down, and when she is forced to reload, and her just not having any fancy combos at all. Next up in the A tier is the one and only Itadori Yuji, and he is one of the most generic characters ever made, but that does not make him bad. He's essentially 100% melee excluding his rock kick, but realistically, has anyone actually used that to effect besides to activate a long range joint? His combos are just good, nothing special. His damage is great and easy to get him to those high cursed energy levels to do those damage. And if you do get caught by him, then he'll do crazy damage considering neither of his attacks can be blocked. He also has extremely high mobility, meaning that you are forced to stay at a distance that isn't too outside of his Yuji's effective range. His ultimate is also one of the most consistent in the game, and honestly, you should be seeing Yuji's ultimate every game if he is in that game. But he's also pretty one-dimensional, and if you can avoid that one dimension, then you will be fine. Also, he doesn't really do anything special besides that high melee damage and good mobility. Next in the A tier is another 100% melee character, and that is Mr. Kento Nanami. Nanami's whole gimmick is the critical hit thing, but to be honest, it's kind of pointless aside from his auto combo, because his R2 rush just straight up out damages his regular critical hit slash by double, and it breaks guard, and has a fast activation time too. Nanami has one of the most underrated joint attacks too in the game, with it just being really good, and the reach is the main factor in that. But it might even be the second best melee joint in the game behind Adult Gojo. Nanami also has his overtime, which is decently inconsistent, but when you do get it, it is basically a wrap up, because those type of games are usually one ultimate or one level 3 Black Flash rush away from a win. I would say he's better than Yuji because he is tankier, better joint, and more damage on average due to overtime. Next in the A tier is Toge Inumaki, who's generally one of the most underrated characters in the entire game. He has phenomenal damage on both his R1 regular curse speech and on his counter, which are both quick and easy to use. He has a good basic combo that allows him to get a guaranteed level up, which is great considering his speech gauge and ability. His speech gauge does decrease at a decent pace, so you do need to be tactical with how you use those speech moves, but most of the time you are able to get him by with or without it. Joint is above average, and ultimate does good damage and is decently consistent. He also has his standstill ability, which allows you or your teammate to get a free combo. The reason he isn't higher is just because he doesn't do anything that is unique or special. What he does do is he's great at, but he does have sizable limitations on both range, mobility, and if your meter is 0, attack speed as well. Next is our final character in the A tier, who is another melee character, Maki Zenin, who I would say has the most utility between the other two melee characters in this tier. First off is her reach. When she uses a basic attack, it has a longer distance than both Yuji and Nanami, which allows her to cover distances in those crucial moments both of them can't. She also has just a better version of Yuji's rock kick, because her knife throw also upgrades her weapon meter. Her auto combo is also quick with good damage. Her R2 also has great reach, breaks guard, and is quick as well. Her joint is above average, and her ultimate is high damage and consistent as well. The best and most distinct part of her kit is the R1 backflip, which is a dodge that is phenomenal considering the stuff you can do with it if you learn to use it. Because if you time it right, you not only regain momentum, but they waste cursed energy, and depending on the attack they used, they could be stuck in that for you to freely start a combo. Maki's main problem is that her real only damaging attack is that R2 rush, so she's kind of a one-trick pony. So at the bottom of the B tier we have Panda. The thing is with Panda, even though he is the worst in the game, he does have some neat tricks, like Gorilla Mode does absurd damage, and even has slight armor on it. He also has his second life mechanic. It's more about the opportunity cost with him, because when you choose to play him and not Nanami, Yuji, or any other melee character, you give up something valuable they don't have, or something valuable they do have, that Panda doesn't make up for. Panda is also just straight up slow, which makes him a tough sell compared to other characters. Next at the bottom of B is Hanami, who to be fair has a lot of neat gimmicks that make her a cool pick. Her rain does reduce cursed energy, recharge, and stuns them for a while, or just forces them to guard, and her range is good with her R1 as well. But like Panda, the opportunity cost is too high. Her ultimate, while being powerful, is not easy to get by any means. Her joint is pretty average, below average, and her R2 thorns are extremely matchup reliant on if they have melee characters, which doesn't even work on Toji if they are smart and outplay that by dashing an additional time. Compared to Jogo, Suit, and Geto, who have more range, more damage, better joint, and additional tricks in their kit as well, she's kind of like Bastion from Overwatch, made for a very specific character. Next in the B tier is Adult Geto, who, at least to me, is one of the most fun characters in the game. His Nose Curse Spirit R2 does crazy damage, and the range is phenomenal as well. And you can even block some attacks while you're using the attack. The R1 Centipedes have good cast time and damage, and his joint is top tier too, with the stun in place. However, he has one major flaw that holds him back: cast time. His R2 isn't terribly long, but does just take way too long to use considering you're starting, using, and exiting the ability. His joint, while being great, does indeed take a while to activate, and his other combos, especially his auto combo, just take too long considering the other characters in the game have so more damage and can perform quicker. Next in the B tier is Yuta Okotsu, who, depending on the matchup, could very well be an S tier character, but also could be at the bottom of B. Rika is his main gimmick and the reason for his variance in matchups. Rika is on a strict clock 99% of the time, and one time per match only, so how you use it is vital. Yes, if you're on the right map, have the right opponents, and your health is high when you activate Rika, he might as well be S++, because he does half health with one R1 rush, uses a net 0 cursed energy to do it, and he can just do it again and again and again. And he can, if he's caught in the combo, he can even break out of it. Then he has a guaranteed kill ultimate. But the downsides are like an elephant in the room. If you die, you essentially just wasting Rika meter. If you get joint, that's a decent amount of time Rika meter while you're just sitting in the air, and you also can't cancel that out. And if you're on the wrong map, you're wasting Rika meter to even just run to the opponents, who can just keep running themselves to buy time. And this is all considering the fact that he's essentially useless in base with low damage, mediocre joint, average health, and average combos. This combines make an inconsistent but potentially deadly character. Finally, for our final character in the T list and our final character in the B tier, we have Kugisaki Nobara, who is a good character in every way except for the fact that other characters are better. Her damage is low compared to other zoners like Jogo, Mai, and Nishimiya. If she ever dies, all her potential damage gets wasted, and her ultimate, while being easy to get, isn't even that good, with med tracking and med damage. She can potentially be a threat on the battlefield with the hairpin mind games on when she will use it, but Mai just has better range and tracking. Nishimiya has better mobility and range. Jogo has better range and damage. It's not really her fault, but I mean, it kind of is. thanks for watching, guys. Remember, this is my opinion, but also I have played the game quite a bit. I'm not just pulling this stuff out my butt either. Thanks for sticking with me throughout this journey throughout all the Jujutsu Kaisen characters. Stay tuned for what's next on the XO channel. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and enjoy tomorrow's video. Peace.